might be thinking of going to the shops today. I don't know. What have you got on your shopping list today? A trolley full of food for the week. Maybe the kids need a new school uniform. Maybe you need a new pair of shoes for work. Well, this story is going to make your blood boil.
So, as part of the clampdown on spending, welfare bill, the government is frozen 20,000 credit cards which were being used by civil servants of varying degrees of seniority. And it's because in the last financial year, they ran up a bill of £675 million. You could build a reasonably small hospital for £600 million. 675 million. The examples are going to make your blood boil.
So these are called government procurement cards, and there are 20,000 still in use, but they're going to be frozen this week. So well done, Labour government, for having a look at this. But you are not scot-free here.
No.
Let me give you a few examples. October 2023, there were... Oh, sorry, I've lost it now. Oh, here we go. £2,493 spent at a fashionable shoe shop in Barbados.
Why do civil servants need to spend £2,500, they're working on behalf of the government and the taxpayer, on shoes in Barbados? Who signed that off? Who signed it off?
I don't understand. 2023, January, again, under the Tories, £673, which isn't a large figure, but it is money that you and I have given them.
It is if you're struggling to pay your energy bill.
Well, guess what they spent that on? A website that sells life-size cardboard cutouts of Harry Styles and the Spice Girls.
Ridiculous. And then there was the money spent on £814 in a retro computer shop. And that money was spent by the Prison and Probation Service.
A shop that
prisons
sells...
are overcrowded, and we're spending nearly £1,000 on a retro computer.
So that was basically on computer games. Yeah, I didn't know it was exactly. The prison service.
Yeah, Prison and Probation Service. So what's that for? Is that to keep the prison warders, keep them amused? But here's the funny thing. So doing the media round today is Pat McFadden. He's the Cabinet Office Minister. He's in charge of a lot of the spending, and he's rightly suspended the 20,000 cards. His own department, since he's been in the Cabinet, spent £1,820, nearly £2,000, on a Learn About the Value of Money course. I'm sorry. Why did they have to spend £2,000 on that? What value of money is in spending nearly £2,000? We're laughing, but it's not funny, is it? It's an outrage. When today, at 12:30, the Work and Pension Secretary, Liz Kendall, is going to announce, in my view, long overdue cuts to the welfare bill, which has gone through the roof. But some people will get caught in this who don't deserve to be hurt. £2,000 on a value for money course.
And this is the one as well that gets me. Cabinet Office in November, so this is under Labour. Guess how much they spent on Nespresso coffee pods in 1 month? £750 on coffee pods in a month. Again, people will say, well, that's ridiculous, Beverly. They spend billions on hospitals. Why are you bothered about 750 quid? Well, if you look after the pennies, the pounds will look after themselves.
They do. And it also shows it is the cavalier approach to money, which isn't theirs. Because it's not their money, it's your money, and I think it's outrageous. We want to know what you think about it. Credit cards. Tell us about these government credit cards.
Yes, there were 20,000 of them being given to civil servants, pretty much to spend on what they liked, and the government have now frozen them, which is probably the right thing to do. I mean, it's very hard to justify these things. So, for instance, if you wanted to spend on hospitality, you were able to spend £2,500.
Amazing.
They've now brought that down to 500. I think the answer to this is there will be certain people who need them. I mean, especially people in foreign postings will probably actually need a credit card. You don't need 20,000 of them. It's quite clearly the right thing to do. Just give them to those who can make a really good business case of having them.
On one memorable occasion, Piers, we don't know who the diplomat was or the civil servant was, but they spent £2,500 in an upmarket shoe shop in Barbados.
Yeah. I mean, the answer is these cards were clearly being abused by some and not properly monitored.
Yeah, I mean, somebody had to sign
They shouldn't actually have to freeze the whole thing.
No.
Because for a lot of the civil servants who are going about their normal business, this is a useful tool and something they should have. But because a handful, or many, I don't know, have abused it, it's all coming into become a problem. Not as much of a problem, by the way, as the Speaker of the House, Sir Lindsay Hoyle, who spent £250,000 on travelling around the world of first-class travel, even a private plane flying to Montserrat to promote the Houses of Parliament, for God's sake. I'm sorry. The Speaker, I rather liked Lindsay Hoyle, and I think it's very sad to see this profligacy and commissioning a portrait of himself to the tune of £50,000 which footed by the taxpayer.
Oh, it makes me sick.
I mean, at this time when they're cutting and he was a Labour MP, of course he's independent now as Speaker, but I mean, for the Labour Party on the one hand to come in and start cutting welfare, which they're about to do, and then on the other hand to have the Speaker of the House spending money like water, flying around the world in a very profligate way. It is very... and of course, no MP can criticise him because they're very reluctant to criticise the Speaker.
You don't get caught.
Yeah, because then you don't get called and he takes it out on you. So there doesn't seem to be a mechanism for saying to Lindsay Hoyle, I mean, these civil servants have got to now justify their expenses.
Yes.
What about Lindsay Hoyle, I say?
Who's obviously felt like he could act with impunity. He probably wants the press on side. He wants politicians on side.
And it's £250,000. I think it's in a period of less than 6 months.
Oh, it's disgusting.
It's absolutely
David Lammy,
staggering.
£650 on chandeliers. Apparently £4,100 spent on a swimming pool cleaning service. We have no idea who...
Must be a big swimming pool.
Who had a swimming pool that needed cleaning. It's completely reckless. Here we go. January 23, Foreign Office staff spent £920 at the Nassau Yacht Club in Barbados. They clearly have a great time there.
They're in their nice new shoes.
Must be. I mean, it's... What's the culture, Nigel? I'm so interested because I think this is across all parties, and I say all credit to Labour Party for reining this in now.
Yeah.
Who turns a blind eye in those situations? Because I'm sorry, but if I was paid by the taxpayer and I was at one of these swanky do's and someone handed me a pair of £400 heels from a shop in Barbados, I'd be saying, hang on. What's wrong with you all? Where's the conscience in this room?
And you're right.
No one's got the backbone, have they?
And you'll be right to do so. I mean, the reason they spent the money is because they can. And they shouldn't have been able to. So obviously these things are policed, but I think you find this in private. You find it also in private business.
That's fine.
Absolutely.
Well,
yes, I mean, expenses abuse.
It's not necessarily fine. It's the idea that.
But it's not as bad as public money.
I don't care what private money's spent on.
Well, the point I'm making is that people get used to an expense regime, and what is allowed in certain places wouldn't be allowed in others, and you can be sort of profligate about the money. Now, that shouldn't happen in the civil service. I absolutely agree with you, but I think the same kind of psyche comes in. If they can get away with it, why not?
Well, I mean, I go back to what I said earlier. The thing is that what is clear is these cards were being abused and not properly monitored. Yeah. And that's what needs to happen. So it's a failure of administration rather than necessarily a culture of people. But it becomes a culture when people feel they can get away with it.